news. We are no longer at the top of the naughty list globally for economic crime. We are now number 3 after India and China. This is according to a global PwC report which shows that incidents of economic crime in South Africa declined from 77% in 2018 to 60% in 2019. Let's take a dive into this report and what it means with forensic partner at PwC, Trevor White. Trevor, good morning. Thank you very much for coming into the studio.
Thank you for the invite.
Is it something to celebrate?
Yes and no. It's one of those difficult answers. It is. There isn't as many incidents, but what we think is happening is that when the respondents are replying to our survey, they're actually focusing on the serious incidents and not just the plain theft of assets or of stock. So that's decreased quite significantly, and we think that's the reason why the overall amount has decreased. But the concerning thing is that the incidents of cybercrime, financial statement misappropriation, those kind of crimes have increased significantly in the past 2 years. So that's where we think the focus has now moved to, rather than just the petty crime.
But we've dropped, thankfully, from the number 1 top spot to number 3. How do we account for that? Is it purely that the reporting is down?
We think it's because they're not reporting the petty crimes as an economic crime anymore when they're responding to our survey. But I mean, it's a great thing not to be top of the list, but 3rd out of 99 countries that responded to the survey. I mean, it's not good.
It's still astonishingly high. The other thing that this report this year is pointing to, which is quite distressing, is that it seems the bosses are stealing more. Senior management on the take is up.
There's been a significant increase. So 2 years ago, 20% of the main perpetrators of an economic crime were senior management. In the current survey, it's gone up to 34%. So that, coupled with the type of economic crime, financial statement fraud, etc., you can see that those crimes aren't perpetrated by lower employees in the organization. And then coupled to that, the value of the economic crimes is also increasing, with 4% of the respondents saying they suffered more than $100 million in losses.
So it's actually quite a grim picture. I was looking for a little silver lining, but I'm not seeing much of one.
I think the positive is that some of these things that have been going on for years are now being exposed. These big economic crimes in the private sector that are now being exposed didn't just happen in the last 2 years. Some of them have been going on for 5, 10 years and more. Yeah. So they are being uncovered, they are being exposed. The corporates are taking corrective action. They're supporting the investigation thereof, as well as the criminal investigation thereof. So there will be, something will happen at the end of the day, but it just takes time.
Of course, indeed it does. 5,000 people were part of this survey across the world, some sort of 240 odd in South Africa. Who's like the best globally? Which country ranked the best in terms of economic crimes?
Actually, I don't know offhand which one was the least, but predominantly, historically, it's been the Nordic countries.
Yeah.
Very low populations, very rules-based organizations. You know, everybody, the wage gap between the top and the bottom is very low.
Yeah.
So if you're a bus driver or you're the CEO of the organization, there's not a big gap.
Yeah, I mean, this is the thing. Does the report probe at all the motivation? Is it purely greed? Is it economic distress? You know, those are the sorts of things that I would imagine the report hasn't necessarily gone into as to why people do this. Is it simply the opportunity is there?
We haven't probed it in detail, but just from our experience, it's a combination. So some people, the opportunity is there, they will take it. Other people that are inherently honest, they see the bosses are doing it, so they think if they do it, they can also get away with it. And then you get the people that are just plain greedy, and they just take it because they can.
What was quite interesting as well is that distressing is that it's not being reported to the authorities, to the regulators, to the investigators. Why is that happening, or not happening, rather?
So that was something which we focused on this year, which we hadn't really focused on in the past, and it is really concerning, is that only 42% of the instances were reported to the board of an organization. So 58% of the incidences, the board of the organization wasn't actually told about it. Only 28% were reported to the auditors. So so companies are not disclosing it. So what is positive in some of the bigger instances that have come out in the last few years, and there's 5, 6, even more of them, is that once it is exposed even a little bit, it becomes public very quickly, and the detail becomes public very quickly.
Trevor White, thank you very much. Trevor White from PwC telling us about a report into economic crimes.